All right, so welcome everyone to Feed Your Kids Not the Can, how to serve school lunches with more taste and less waste. So we're going to share a little bit first just about Seven Generations Ahead and what we do. Next slide, please. And then we'll go ahead and introduce our speakers. So we have been around. Seven Generations Ahead is an environmental nonprofit based in the Chicago area, and we are going to celebrate our 25th year in 2026. And we've worked with communities to drive. Can you back up? Thanks. We drive solutions related to climate, equity, and sustainability, and we have a very holistic approach which includes looking at greenhouse gas reduction, local sustainable food, waste reduction, composting, and youth engagement, among other programs. And we build communities in which people and the planet are cared for and protected now and for generations to come. And if you'd like to learn more about us, we'll put a link to our beautiful updated website in the chat. So now we are going to hear from Diane, our Farm to School program manager, and then she'll share more about Farm to School and then introduce our next speaker. So Diane.
Thanks. I'm going to have you advance the slides because I cannot do it without redoing the presentation all over again. So go ahead and go to the next one. I'm just going to share very quickly a little bit about Farm to School. Farm to School has three components. The folks who participate in Farm to School feeding or child education sites can choose one, two, or all three to develop their program, and it's totally up to the best fit for each site. Next slide. We are the Illinois Farm to School Network that is operated through Seven Generations Ahead. I am the senior program manager for the actual person who manages the entire network. We send out a newsletter every month, and our network is very diverse. I have pretty much everyone that's in the local food system and anyone who's feeding or educating children in the network. Next slide. We have a ton of resources available on our websites. We have two websites that are tied to Farm to School, and we have toolkits that will help you figure out what looks good in your site, what works for your site, so you can play to your best advantages. And it allows you to actually go further down the hole if you want to for Farm to School and figure out just how you want to represent that in your site or your district. Next slide. We also have a complete garden toolkit for schools, for residential sites, for after-school programs, and for homeschool sites, and early care as well. All of these tools are available on our website, and they actually help you connect your garden so much further than you would anticipate is possible. You can connect to your community, you can connect to the classroom, to the cafeteria, you can connect to other schools in your district that have gardens, and you can complete, I guess what we call a gardening circle across your area that helps you connect to resources, to volunteers, to professionals who can help you figure out what's going on in your garden or how to build a garden. Everything is in our toolkit. Next slide. And we're going to talk just briefly about our two programs. I noticed somebody already mentioned the Great Apple Crunch. The Illinois Great Apple Crunch happens through the entire month of October. It's a one and done type of event, so you can get your feet wet as far as buying local apples and participating in farm to school education or activities. And our second program is Illinois Harvest of the Month. Illinois Harvest of the Month runs year long, and it's a very versatile program, so it's up to each site to decide what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. Next slide. There's a little bit more about the Apple Crunch. We have registration going on right now. Unfortunately, the website is having issues. Of course, perfect timing for the Crunch. So if you would like to register for the Crunch, all you have to do is send me an email at farmtoschool@7generationsahead.org, and I will send the link to the Crunch, a registration, and it is also in our newsletters, and the next one goes out in 9 days. And if you cannot access the resources on the website, I can actually send you all the Crunch guides manually in PDF form if you're having issues. Next slide. Harvest of the Month again is develop it on your own type program, although I do assist lots of school districts to figure out how it looks in their program, in their feeding program, at their site, at their garden site. And it's basically you choose what you're going to feature. You choose how you're going to feature that food, and if you're going to share education, if you're going to share celebrations, if you're going to put it on your school website, if you're going to share it on social media. There are a lot of tools and a toolkit for every single one of the seasonal food options that are on the website, along with recipes for K-12, recipes for early care, and recipes for home. So you can send something home to let the folks know, the parents know that you are actually featuring a local food and celebrating it, and maybe they'll make the recipe at home. Next slide. And we also have connections for local foods into the lunchroom and beyond. So this is just an example of our taste test toolkit that hosts a bevy of ways to connect from the actual tray into the classroom and at home. Next slide. And that's my contact information. Again, if you want to register for the Crunch and you can't see it on the webpage, shoot me an email at farmtoschool@7generationsahead.org, and I will get you the registration link and then help you find the resources if they're still mysteriously hiding on our webpage. And that's all I've got. Our next speaker is from Wheeling, CCSD 21, and it is Allison Brown from Organic Valley Life. Allison is a regional manager, and she has been operating Farm to School in the Wheeling district and others for, wow, I'm thinking probably close to 9 years. I met Allison 10 years ago at one of the first trainings I orchestrated for 7 Generations Ahead. And she was one of those folks that were in line after the presentation to ask questions. And she has been very, very dedicated to her development of Farm to School in her actual school district. So Allison, welcome and take it away.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Thank you for the honor of being able to present my story and my journey of how I've worked with the Farm to School program in Harvest of the Month. I have been a food service director for around 23 years. I have started with the Catch program when I first started as a director. I have also worked on doing the Healthier School Challenge in another district. We received 9 awards for that. And then when I came to Wheeling, I started looking at my program and setting my SMART goals. And I heard about this Farm to School program. And next slide. So I grabbed another associate and I'm like, well, let's go on and check this out. The thing that caught my eye the most, that it is flexible, that you can tailor make this to your needs and what it fits. It fits Organic Life's philosophy as a company, is how we want to present ourselves to the students and the community that we serve in this district. So here's some information on what Diana had also presented on the programs. So you can check this out. Next slide. And this is information that she went over and how I joined the program. It's super easy and simple. You just get your name, your location, that type of stuff. Diane has been and still continues to be a huge resource for me. She helps me with if I have questions. I always read the newsletters. There's so much information in there as far as grants and recipes and just all kinds of information to keep you up to date on their services and what's available out there. Next slide, please. And also here are some of the tools that I have also used. The recipes are great with that. The webinars, if you get to go to any of the seminars, please go. They are well worth it. We had a lot of fun doing that. You can find your nutritional information there. There is just an abundance of tools for you. Next slide. So this is, I started my farm to school plan. As I said, I started working on my SMART goals, and I reached out to another director, Di, that we do a lot of things together, and we're like, yeah, let's go and try this out, see how we like it. We sat down, we were able to kind of map out, spend the time on where we wanted to take our program, what it looked like for us. Her program looks a lot different than my program, and it's going to look a lot different than anybody else's program. We were able to see other people's journeys, ask them questions, and it was very helpful to sit down and kind of just have a roundtable and discuss different concepts and different things that we wanted to do. I was like, oh, I'm going to plant apple trees, or I'm going to have a garden. Went back to the district and they were like, whoa, 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 slow down. Let's look at other things. So next slide, please. So I started with the Great Lakes Apple Crunch, and I find this is so much fun to do with the district. They're extremely supportive. We have a great, I'm very fortunate to have a communications department here that we can call them, give them pictures. They will come out. Andy's great about going anywhere that you need to take pictures for me. You can see my staff with a frame. I made that myself one of the first years. And then on the bottom right, I had one of my managers on site. She made her own. We have part of our administrative team at one school crunching along with us. It's fun to get everybody involved in it. Everybody just has a great time. It's fun to bounce different ideas. Diane and I were talking about what we could do. She has a girl that is fabulous with the kids. So we were thinking, oh, she would be great to be Johnny Appleseed. So there's just different things that you can do with this program. And the crunch, we're going to have lots of different apples out there. We're going to get our apples from the Common Market. We're also going to get apples from DOD. You can get your apples wherever you would like to get them from, as long as, you know, you're able to crunch. You can crunch at any time. You don't always have to be on the same day. You could have several schools that crunch at different times, but it is a fun concept. And if you want to get started with something, this is the easiest thing to get started with. Next slide, please. And then my next step after that was to start working on the menus. I started highlighting my fruits and veggies on there, putting the farm to school harvest of the month. I like to also put on people that I have partnerships with to show the community that I serve that we're working together as an organization to bring the best food that we can to the students. So we start with fun names like the Mighty Melon Mix, Super Green Broccoli. We support National School Lunch. We've got the Apple Crunch on there. It's a nice way to communicate to the parents and the students what's happening in your district. Next slide, please. And then we started on new menu items. The golden rule, and most of us will say this, that most students are not going to gamble on their lunch choices. They're going to stay comfortable with what they know. And it's very tough to get them to change from that. So we try to think outside the box, think of how to reformulate things. What do we see that's currently going on in marketing, on television, what the kids are used to? Can we reinvent something that we had and loved on the school lunch program? We did vegetable fajitas. We have done a different version of spaghetti and meatballs. But we also do like a trial run through the recipe if we're going to try something new. This way we can kind of see what snags that we're running on. Do we have the proper equipment? Are my chefs at the level that they need to be to execute the recipe the way that it should be? We get out there, hand out samples, get the feedback from the students, listen to what they're saying. And then is there anything that we wanted to tweak or from the responses of the feedback? Could it make it better? Maybe if we tried a different spice or, that sometimes they're not always successful. What can we do to make it different or better? Sometimes they're just great out the door. So this is one step that we do. Next slide, please. We've also, when we used recipes from the education store, we picked a friendly kale salad. Our special needs children love this salad so much. And it's simple. It's kale, it's tomatoes, there's grapes in there and a dressing. We post on our serving line little information. I try and keep it small and simple because I have just a few seconds to grab their attention as they're coming through the line. Next slide, please. And here's some of the pictures of items and recipes that we've tried. When we sat down with Diane and mapped out some of our goals as far as, like implementing gardens and what kind of recipes we wanted to try, I really wanted to do cauliflower fried rice. I eventually did get there. That's a picture of it up in the top right-hand side. Grilled vegetables, we've done apple salad, cabbage and slaw, different kinds of slaw, kale salad, herb roasted vegetables, roasted squashes. The buffalo cauliflower went over really good. Pasta primavera. We did roasted potatoes with kale. We are doing the different squashes. We made butternut squash soup yesterday for the kids to sample. And it was like a taste of Thanksgiving. It was a fun recipe for the kids to try. So you got to get in there, try different things. Some are going to be very successful. Some may not be, but you won't know until you get out there and give it a try. Next slide, please. And then while we're trying to, one of my goals was to incorporate a garden. I couldn't necessarily do it outside. The district was, the operations was like, well, if you leave, who's going to maintain this garden? So we went a different route and we started with the aeroponic gardens. We started with 3 garden towers, and you can see here our first crop that we had garden salad, and we were really proud to make our own little salads and labels. And then we have started doing other vegetables on there. You can see we did tomatoes, peppers, we did jalapenos, different basil, those type of things. And because we do have a grant team here, she was able to get us 3 more towers to expand to another school. Whole Foods was very generous to make that donation. And it's just been very successful to have an indoor garden. Next slide, please. So how do we get past those first couple of points? Where can you go from there? Student advisory groups are good to sit down and talk to the students about what they like, what they dislike, based on their feedbacks. How are you going to improve your program? Can you convert something that they enjoy, but into the NSLP program with the guidelines, your food costs, and all those other parameters that we work with? A great way too is to bring new items that we want to try to advisory groups and have the students sit down, try them, give us their feedbacks prior to putting it on menus. Parents' nights, getting the parents involved with it. having them, try samples. School District 23 just did that, and it was very successful for her. We'll do samplings in the cafeteria, have the kids come and try stuff, fill out quick little surveys. Those work very well with that, so that that they like what you're putting on the menu. Next slide, please. And I would say the biggest thing while you're working on your garden is also to start cultivating your partnerships. Your partnerships are so important with that, because sometimes you start stalling out on some of the garden stuff, and the more partnerships that you build, the more that you can build on your program. So it's where are you going to start getting help to implement these programs? Who do you talk to? What type of introduction conversations do you need to have? Our school board here and our superintendent in the business office have been so on board everything. We got new kitchens. They help out with so many different details on that. They're so supportive. The communications department is with us on board in our travel. It's just so nice to have all that support with us. And as you have the support, they introduce you to different groups. When we went out, we got all new 12 production kitchens from the district. And when we went out to learn how to use them, we connected with the gentleman that was training us, and he's heavily into farm to school. So it was nice. It was another connection made, and kind of just talking about different things, how he approached things. So it was great. How you need to ask questions, how you're going to get all these people on board with that. How are you going to communicate and celebrate all these wonderful things that you're doing? Menus, flyers, pictures. I always, communications is like, great, send me any pictures you want. They put them up on the district website. They communicate with them. We send them out, tag out our other partners, and they'll post them. Going to school board meetings and making sure that you're communicating with those board members. Every time we do an event or we see them, they always come up and ask us how things are going. They couldn't be more supportive on that. Make sure that you're getting your stuff out on LinkedIn and Instagram and different websites so that people know what you're doing. We have monthly meetings with our managers, and we talk as a group about what people are doing, and we find it very helpful. It helps to kind of pick your other people's brains to see what they're doing and how you can incorporate it into your world. Next slide, please.
Allison, sorry to interrupt. If you could wrap up just
Sure.
soon. Sorry,
Right.
I know you've got so much amazing
okay.
information. Just want to make sure we've got enough time for the rest, but thank you.
And I was worried about running out or not being able to fill time. Okay. Here's just some of our partnerships. It's like a trickle effect. I started with Harvest a Month. We do the Great Lakes with the district. They get me Tower Gardens. We did the Common Market. I'm starting a new vegetarian program with Lunchbox Labs. The Common Market introduced us into Grain to Tray, which we are also going to bring in. One of our goals this year is to increase breakfast. So next slide. So here's just, if you have LS funds, use them. All right, next slide. And this is just about the Common Market. You can read more information on their website. Next slide, please. And then here's just how we introduced Common Market into our school with fresh asparagus. It went over very well, so we tried purple. Next slide. Here's some of our pictures doing events, getting the cooks out on the floor. Administration staff, they come in, they have lunch, they're willing to share pictures. Next slide. Resources and everything. You can see the kids, they really like seeing what's going on. Our cook's goal is to get them to stop and not just go to pizza. Next slide, please. And then you'll see some of our benefits, that the kids are stopping and looking at the table rather than just bypassing it. Scratch cooking, everybody feels good about what they're eating. They're having fun. It increases participation, and it's okay to try different things. My goal is to expose the kids here to as many different things as I possibly can. Next slide, please. And we are very grateful for our partnerships. They provide us a lot of assistance and support with us, and our love language to the community. You can see some of the kids, they're really enjoying their lunch. The pizza is made from our Tower Gardens, all the toppings on there, and sprinkled with a little bit of love. So thank you everybody for your time, and I'll be quiet now.
Oh, thank you. That was amazing. Oh gosh.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to cut you off, but we will
Oh,
be
that's
sharing
okay.
all of these slides with everybody, so they'll be able to read all the great information that you had in there, spend some more time with it, and yeah, check out all of your wonderful ideas, and then also the resources that you've shared. So thank you so much. That was wonderful. So I'll be up next. Thank you. We're switching gears a little bit, but there is a connection, so bear with me. Um, so I'm Becky with the Zero Waste Schools program, also with 7 Generations Ahead, and I'm going to talk a bit about kind of food waste and some ways that we specifically highlight, just a couple ways that we work with schools to reduce food waste, and then we'll hear from our next wonderful speaker, Kate Mason Schultz. So we work with the Zero Waste Schools program. We work with Chicago area schools to reduce waste, fighting both the climate crisis and food insecurity by shifting operations and minds towards generating zero waste through source reduction, recycling, composting, and food recovery. And then I've highlighted some of the ways in which we do this. Next slide. So just gonna give a quick overview with some kind of scary statistics about the problem of wasted food and understand kind of the urgency, and the need to address this issue. There are some statistics on the left, but I wanted to highlight specifically the work that we've done and what we kind of discovered working with Chicago Public Schools. We've launched 28 schools in the district, and when we do work to implement commercial composting and recycling, we also set up share tables. So we do a waste audit, and we measured that over the course of a year, the schools together cumulatively are recovering 43.9 tons of food, edible food, per school year. So that is just through the use of share tables, and that's only 28 schools, and there are over 600 schools in CPS. So that is just kind of a staggering number, and that equates to 1.69 tons per individual school that they are recovering through a share table. So if you can say alternatively, if a school does not have a share table, then that food is going to the landfill. And every year across the country, 1 billion edible items are landfilled, and that's the statistics from the nonprofit K through it's K through 12 Food Rescue, and they're a really great organization that's focused on supporting schools with share table implementation. Next slide, please. So how do we deal with this immense problem of food waste? So Allison and Diane just shared about serving local food in school meals, which has been found to significantly reduce food waste. Food that is sourced locally often tastes better, may contain more nutrients, supports a local economy, and is better for the environment. And serving fresh local food in school cafeterias increases the chances that it will get eaten. So great incentive to get that local, healthy, tasty food into your school menus. So I'm going to highlight 2 additional initiatives that can help reduce food waste in schools. That's the Offer versus Serve program and share tables. So the USDA research has found that the use of Offer versus Serve is associated with significantly lower levels of plate waste for overall calories, fruits, and vegetables. And then in a study done by the nonprofit Cafeteria Culture, who I mentioned earlier, students actually consumed more food with Offer versus Serve. And this could be for a variety of reasons, but one of which is that the students have the choice about what they would like to eat. So they're more likely to choose the foods that they intend to eat. And also they will end up with fewer options on their tray, so they can focus more on the food that they have versus eating a little bit of each item. So next slide. So how does Offer versus Serve work? For schools in the National School lunch and breakfast program, students in schools without an OVS policy would receive a lunch tray with all 5 food components, but offer versus serve allows students to decline up to 2 of the items as long as they take a fruit or a vegetable. And all students must be offered milk, but under OVS, they do not have to take a milk. OVS is optional in elementary and middle schools, but it's required in high schools. Next slide. So here are some tips that to help ensure that OVS will be successful over the long term. There's a recent memo from the USDA that helps the staff understand why they're being asked to implement offer versus serve and why it is so important. It also shares how it works, making sure that students have multiple opportunities to familiarize themselves with the menu before lunchtime so they're ready to make a choice before coming up to the serving line. Communication between staff and students as the students move through the serving line is really important. And education and training. And one thing I want to specifically highlight is training. You know, we look a lot at training for staff, but training and education for students around offer versus serve often gets overlooked. And students often don't get the information, and so they don't really understand what they do and they don't have to take. So informing them, again, outside of the lunchroom ahead of time so that they come into the lunchroom with that education is really important. Next slide. So share tables are another wonderful way to recover edible food from the landfill and get it to hungry students or community members. It's a place where students can leave items from the school lunch that they did not eat, unopened, factory sealed items, or whole fruit. And there's one-way share tables and two-way share tables, but I won't get into that because we're short on time. Next slide. So for a share table to be most impactful, it's essential to make sure that everyone understands the parameters. So having standard operating procedures at the district level is very important. At the very least, having a one-pager that's posted in the lunchroom that will help ensure that everyone is on the same page. It's also really important to make sure that there's a plan in place for any leftover food on the share table at the end of lunch service. And I've listed some options, but I won't get into those of what can be done with that surplus food. And then also when planning a share table program, you'll need to provide training for staff, as we mentioned before, educational materials, etc. Next slide. So there are many policies at the state and federal level that support and encourage the use of share tables, and we've put together a document with all of those, and that will be shared in the follow-up email. But I wanted to make sure to highlight that Illinois has mandated that all K through 12 schools must have an unused food share plan in place, and that should be written into their wellness policy. And ISB actually has guidance on their website about how to do that. And we found just a lot of schools that we work with are not, and a lot of districts we work with are not aware about, of the plan and not aware of the support and the guidance about how to get it written into their wellness policy. So again, we've got those links to share with you here. And next up, we have Kate Mason Schultz. She serves as Nutrition Services Coordinator for the Evanston Skokie School District, where she's spent 12 years helping students, parents, and staff bring creative, sustainable ideas to life in our schools. She believes that food can be both fun and a force for change. When she's not working, you'll find her lost in a good book, rewatching Gilmore Girls with her daughter, or proudly cheering on her teenage son from the baseball field. I personally have had the pleasure of working with Kate for many years while my kids were students in her district. And she's going to talk about what share tables and offer versus serve look like in her district. Kate?
All right. Thank you, Becky. As Becky said, my name is Kate. I am the Nutrition Services Coordinator for District 65, which is in Evanston and a small part of Skokie here in Illinois. And I am going to, my slides are going to cover how we implement OVS as well as share tables here in our district. And I am going to turn my video off because I think my computer will be happier that way. But next slide, please. All right, so this first slide talks about our annual approach to offer versus serve, which I have learned we do need to have an annual approach to this. So I want to start out by saying that I walked into my position 12 years ago, and our district was already utilizing offer versus serve. My staff were familiar with the concept, but it is absolutely still something that needs reiterating all the time. This slide in particular walks through our annual approach towards training OVS. Each year we do an OVS refresher. I just did mine 2 weeks ago. In particular, we try to watch a video. The one that is linked here is the one that I used this year. I always try to find videos that touch on the most common misconceptions, like Becky spoke about before, things like students needing to take a milk, or even that taking the main entree is absolutely necessary for a reimbursable meal. This year, we also walked through our production records day by day. So we operate a cycle menu, which I also highly recommend. And each school's staff members were assigned a menu day from that cycle menu. I gave them a few minutes, and then we went around the room and heard all of the different combinations of reimbursable meals that they might see on that menu day. So it was a little tedious. It took some time, but I did hear from many staff members that they found this practice very useful. It also really led us to some great discussions and learning opportunities. Additionally, when I have the opportunity to meet with school leaders, which unfortunately just doesn't happen as often as we would probably all like, I do ask them that they trust their on-site staff in regards to reimbursable meals. I think a lot of times teachers or school staff have a lot of opinions about how much food students should take, and empowering my staff to share their knowledge has proven really helpful with this. We also provide annual menu pictures that help teachers assist students with ordering their lunches in the mornings. This leads to more accurate meal counts and food production, which in turn means less food waste. There is a sample of one of those pictures up on that slide. Lastly, we've also pretty much perfected our signage game. So it's perfect for us, might not be perfect for you, but on this next slide, you'll see the signage that we use to explain OVS to our students and school communities. Perfect. So the signage that we have used has changed over the years, but when I get a state auditor to sign off on all my signage, I'm going to stick with it for as long as possible. The first sign on the left, we have that in 18 by 24 size at the beginning of all of our serving lines. Its focus is on the 3 components and especially that fruit or veggie option. The middle sign, I am not taking credit for. I stole it from a colleague in Oak Park River Forest, but she did tell me that I could steal it, so I'm okay with it. I have this in a sign holder towards the end of every line, asking students that they double check their own trays to make sure that they have that half cup of fruit or vegetable before we have to do it for them. So this helps build some ownership over their meals as well. Lastly, my middle schools, they don't have a designated, or we don't have a designated fruit and veggie bar. So we've made a makeshift version, which has allowed us to offer fruits and veggies in bulk. This sign is posted to remind them of the proper etiquette for serving themselves, as well as why we switched from individual cups to a bulk serving. So it also gives a shout out to our district sustainability plan. And then next slide, please. This will show some pics of our makeshift fruit and veggie lines and students going through. These pictures are from the first middle school that kind of transitioned to this strategy. And the students really took about 2 days to get the hang of it. Allowing them to really see what they're taking has allowed them to be more sure of their choices. They're taking things because they look good and not just because they know they have to. So, and I also did get some student feedback about how the fruits and veggies just look so much more appealing when you can really see them, and then, you know, versus being in a cup with a lid on. And then I had a manager who mentioned that she had to increase her orders, and she was almost saying that like that was a bad thing. And I said, that's the greatest thing ever. That's the goal. That's the goal here, is to get them to take more fruits and veggies and actually eat them. So next slide. So I will forever be a supporter of offer versus serve, but it of course does come with its challenges. Giving students choices sometimes means that they will take longer to make decisions, right? It takes them longer to get through the line. It also means that staff training on OVS is absolutely necessary every year and ongoing throughout site visits throughout the year. However, students feel ownership over their own meals, which means they'll eat more of what's on their tray. Their decision-making also becomes quicker throughout the school year. Additional obstacles might include students who get to the end of the line without a fruit or a veggie. In this case, we send them back, especially in the beginning of the year. This only needs to happen once or twice for them to learn to just take something the first time. You can also have a small fruit basket at the end of the line. At times, there are students who can get pretty upset about having to take specific items. In these instances, we try reassurance from our share tables, and we'll say things like, if you're really not hungry, you don't have to eat it. You can put it on the share table. Next slide, please. So we use share tables as a vital part of our waste sorting process. We do use the 7 generations standard operating procedure for that, which is linked on this slide. Our share tables are not fancy. They are old desks and small tables that sit either right at the start of our waste station or in a preferred location, depending on the school. I do give staff the autonomy to set this up on their own. And then you'll see there's also a picture of our signage that we use. This can be easily edited and updated. So this year I was asked to include a reminder that share table items are for student consumption only. So that's what you'll see at the bottom there. So my staff, nutrition services staff, will check the share table after every line to ensure items left there are appropriate and from school lunches only. Next slide, please. This slide gives you an idea of how our waste stations are set up. And I do want to say this slide comes directly from our amazing sustainability coordinator, Karen Beretta, who is also on this call. So shout out to her and all of her hard work. All of our schools are set up with the expectation that they are composting and recycling in our lunchrooms. Karen organizes this initiative and provides training to frontline staff every year. She also provides resources for teachers and students to be successful. You'll see on the left, that is where we generally place our share tables. It makes sense for students to be able to kind of unload any uneaten and unused items before sorting their waste. In our district, we prioritize the decrease of food waste, but also landfill waste, hence the recycling and the composting. Next slide, please. Share tables have been really pretty simple to implement, at least for our district. I ensure that my staff knows their role in taking care of the table, which is making sure that items are from school lunch only and that refrigerated items are returned to refrigeration within a safe time. We have also partnered with school nurses and social workers if we find that we just have too many returns or if items are getting close to expiration and we won't be able to reuse. I think it's really important that students begin to understand that not everything is disposable and that things can have value for others, even if they might not for them. Some obstacles I mentioned earlier, share table items are for students only. So reiterating that with staff and having clear signage is important. Also, there have been a few instances where students will just kind of take everything that's on the share table, or definitely take many items, right? More than they should. And we try to address this quickly and somewhat confidentially. We have found that sometimes the student might do this because there's little to no food at home, or they may be trying to provide food for siblings. So when we see this, we try to recognize it and also, talk with the student and start asking ourselves and them, like, how else can our school community support your family? What might you need at home? this is really it from me. Sorry, I rambled a little bit, but I wanted to save time for questions.
Oh, no, that was amazing, Kate. Thank you so much. No, it was a wonderful summary of the, incredible work that you've been doing in District 65. And so it's great to see it kind of all in one place. So thank you. I'm sure it was helpful to everybody else too. We've got all of our email addresses here. Again, we'll be sharing this, but if you want to write any of them down, go for it. And I guess we can stop sharing. I would like to, Rebecca, if you can, just one last time, drop the Google survey in the chat so we can just know who's here if you haven't filled it out yet, as just name, title, school district. We just want to see what kind of representation we have. So thank you. And we are happy to answer questions now. I did see for sure one, but if you've got any other questions, please drop them in the chat. From Beth at Cafeteria Culture, and this is probably directed to Kate, but also I think Allison might be able to answer this too. Have you conducted waste audits to find out how much more students are actually eating with OVS? And have you to find out if students are actually eating the veggies and fruits that they're taking? And I just want to say, as an aside, we've been grappling with this as well, because we would really like to be able to share some data on how successful Offer versus Serve is at reducing food waste, but we have not yet figured out a really good way to do that. So Kate?
Ditto. I don't, and I think because we've always done Offer versus Serve, so I don't have an alternative like baseline. I do know, and I hear and I see quite frequently too. I think that not that this might not really have anything to do with Offer versus Serve, but there is less food waste at the middle school level. And maybe that's because they're just more cognizant of their choices, or maybe they're more knowledgeable about their choices by that time. But yeah, I see a lot of empty trays at the middle school level. But yeah, we don't have a good way of measuring. I know we've done food waste audits before, like with Swank, Becky, but it doesn't address the Offer versus Serve difference.
Yeah, and we definitely have been kind of trying to think about ways, because we have worked with districts that were not doing Offer versus Serve, and we're like, it would be amazing to have an audit, before and after, the success. And we thought, a couple ways. One could be even just if you're collecting things on the share table, like specifically milk, you could look at like how many milks were on the share table before, and are there any milks? Because we always kind of use that as an indication. If there are a lot of milks on the share table, then you can pretty safely assume that Offer versus Serve is not being implemented, or partially, and students are most likely being told they need to take a milk, or there's some misunderstanding on the student's part. Again, there's that student education piece. So yeah, otherwise we haven't thought of a good way. But if anybody else on this call has any wonderful ideas about how to do it, especially like in Kate's case where they've been doing it all along, it would be really interesting to see a before and after, or what impact it has. Any other questions?
Hello, this is Mildred Davis. I have a question. I think the more I'm going in trainings now, that I do have a misunderstanding on Offer versus Serve, which we're a very small school and we pretty much are serving. So is there a platform to actually do a little training that is not a cost, to just get a better understanding or handle of the Offer versus Serve? Because right now we're serving. That's our platform only.
Yeah, I know ISB has a slide deck. We've created a video that I could share with you. And then Kate, I don't know what do you use?
The video that I linked in my slide, it's I think at least 10 years old, but it was super great for my staff and could also be very easily used for students. In fact, it may have been created with students in mind. But I feel like it very much touched on all of the main points of offer versus serve. And it's only 7 or 8 minutes long.
And that's going to be in the recording that will be sent by email.
Yes, it'll be on I think it's on my first slide where I talk about our annual approach to offer versus serve.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah, and we can share in the follow-up email, we'll send a couple resources that we have as well for training. And we created one for students as well.
Thank you.
And there's a wonderful video from, I think it's Stop Waste in California, that we have a little clip in, we borrowed a clip, and it's in our training, and it's a student actually explaining how offer versus serve works. So I think that's really great for that kind of peer-to-peer education.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Sure. And Beth says that Cafeteria Culture is working on their Mindful Choice Meals Toolkit, and that will have resources about how they've done their audits to measure the before and after, which will be really great. And she said that, yeah, they've also found that food waste in middle school is consistent with their findings too, that less food waste. And at the middle school level, they generally eat more and waste less. But I think also, speaking to agree, with what Kate said too, is they probably, I'm guessing, probably have a better understanding of offer versus serve, and maybe just it's easier for them to make those choices. So oh, and Diane dropped in another resource, yeah, training from ISB in the chat as well. Let's see. And Stephanie asks, is there any guidance on exploring these options for tiny schools? So Stephanie, are you referring to offer versus serve and share tables, or you can just unmute and ask your question if you're still here? Maybe not. Okay.
I apologize. I
there you
run
are.
our aftercare program at
Okay.
our school as well. So I'm out here with some kids. I was just asking because I, run the kitchen for an extremely small school. We only have on average about 124 kids per year. We're a private school and we're looking at more options to reduce our waste and offer our children, more of the things that they're willing to eat. And a share table is definitely something I consider, but I'm just a little on some of these options. We're a little concerned on how we would implement them due to the fact that we don't cook for large masses, so it almost seems, I don't want to say ineffective for us to offer more variety of options, I guess. And I'm still trying to understand the concept of offer versus serve as well. So bear with me here.
Of course. Kate or Allison, would you like to address that question?
I was just going to ask Stephanie, are you, if you're, kind of cooking in maybe smaller quantities, are you serving everything bulk anyhow?
Currently we are, yes. We serve everything bulk.
Okay, so you don't really have anything maybe other than milk that is in individual packaging or like would be safe to come back to the food service department?
We, and that's kind of the thing, we actually, since we are such a small school and we're a rural school as well, we depend on a lot of farms to get our produce, and we hand cut most of our produce for our children. We are an elementary school K through 8, or excuse me, pre-K through 8. So, just the portions make more sense for our kids, I suppose, to have them cut versus giving them a whole apple. So yeah, and we don't really use packaged produce or anything like that. So not carrot sticks in a pack or anything.
Mhm. I think that's wonderful. You're like how all of us want to be.
Yeah, you're way ahead of
already-
the game.
You're done.
The grass is always greener. I mean, we're doing our best, but
Yeah.
we're exploring new ideas, you know.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. From a share table perspective, I mean, you really probably have very minimal items that would even need to come back. Do you do you compost in your schools or in your school?
So we just applied as one of our teachers actually applied for a grant to do one of the tower gardens. And we are looking at an opportunity to be able to compost some of that to be able to use for our tower garden if we are to get the grant. And it's interesting that we may be able to apply as a kitchen as well instead of as a science teacher. So that might be something that I look into.
Mm-hmm. I think that's amazing. Are you implementing offer versus serve, or are you serve only?
We serve only at the moment. However, our state inspector has suggested to us that, you know, offer versus serve be looked into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think from my perspective anyways, that would probably be your next step, because you would probably have a number of students who may just choose the fruit or the vegetable, right? And not both. Right now, you're giving them both automatically.
Yes,
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
so I would say if you have the time and your lunch periods are long enough, maybe just start with that. I don't know, Becky, if you have other ideas too.
No,
or
I was gonna say the same thing. If you have, say, 6 menu items, I think offer versus, or if you're gonna have at least 5 menu items, right? So giving the students a choice, even if it's just with, say, the fruit or the vegetable, or,
Mhm.
milk, fruit, vegetable, um, that would be, it would be a good idea. And then, the students will feel some autonomy too, and they'll be able to choose more of what they're more likely to eat.
Okay.
And it's an easy process, to sign up. Are you part of the National School Lunch Program?
We are, yes.
Okay.
But we
Okay.
just barely make the
Mm,
requirements for it.
okay. Yeah, because it's an easy process to elect to be, to participate. So it definitely, I think, would be a good thing for you guys to try. And I don't think, it doesn't matter the size, right? Like obviously would have to adjust once you kind of see what students are favoring, you would be adjusting your meal planning and the quantities. But so eventually you will be needing probably to make less of certain items once you see what's more popular. But I
Okay.
think, yeah, I think it's a good place for you guys to start. So,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
of course. All right, I think we are over time. But if anybody else has any questions remaining, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you so much for joining, and we'll share slides and the recording soon. And have a great afternoon.
Thank you.